My name is Philip Griffiths, and the roles I play in Phantom of the Opera are the auctioneer at the very beginning, and then I have a very quick change into Monsieur Ray, who's the repetitor at the Opera House, where the Phantom is holding out. Before the building was refurbished, the boys were all in a big room together, and then they did all the refurbishment of the building, and we got separated. And I went up to dressing room 108, which is the famous dressing room in the building, because it's the dressing room to be in. However, I think I've moved all that down to 89 now. That's the dressing room to be in. But so I'm in a smaller room now with only 4 people, and it's much better. But 108 was great fun, because when you came into the theatre at night, the half-hour call, everybody'd sign in, go to their room, dump their stuff, and they'd be straight up to our room. I was constantly making tea. I was the tea maker, and honestly, people would be lying on the floor. It was the chance to catch up with a bit of gossip, really. And that's what 108 was. The door was shut, and if the key was in the door, we have the same thing with the company office door key. If the key's in the door, you can knock and come in. If the key isn't in the door and the door is shut, please do not enter. We also had a very rude sign made for the door, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. When I auditioned for the show, I was in Anything Goes, and I'd never seen it. And I came down here to audition for Jeff Ferris, Anthony Inglis, Martin Yates, and Howard Harrison was actually our production administrator then. I know he's gone on to do big lighting designs and all the rest of it now, but he was actually looking after this show. And I came down and I'd never seen it. I didn't know what I was auditioning for. Somebody told me that there was a role that would suit me in it, but that's all I knew. I didn't even know what it was. And I got the job. I was offered the job on the spot. Howard came up and offered me the job on the stage. And I thought, well, I better come and see it now. And you know, I sat on the sound desk, because there wasn't a seat available in those days. Sat on the sound desk and watched the show, and I thought, oh my God, this is fantastic. You know, when that dry eye starts, the candles come up, the candelabras all come on, and the Phantom comes on in the boat and the rest of it. It's amazing. And you think, well, now I know why this is such a huge success. And you know why it's still running 23 years on. Maria Björnsson, the designer, did the most phenomenal job. She must have thought somebody had given her the best job of her life when that job was offered to her, because she must have gone away and had a field day designing this. Although I've been here a long time, I haven't not gone for other things. I went for Martin Guerre, which I'd love to have done. That was a fantastic sounding show. I went for The Producers, which I'd love to have done. I would love to have played a Carmen Gear, but I didn't even get seen. So there we are, end of story. But I would do anything, really. I mean, the shows I've done, which have been Evita, I was in the original production of Evita. I did the original production of Chess. I did the original London production of Anything Goes. So, you know, I've done good shows. But whatever show I'm in, I will give 150%. But now, I won't go into a show unless I think I'm absolutely right for it. I don't like to waste my time, and I don't like to waste the producer's time either. Because, you know, if you're not suitable, what's the point of going up for it? But I would leave if something worthwhile came up. I would think twice about going on tour at my age. We're just into the 4th, 5th week of a cast change, and we've got one new cast member in our dressing room, but there's quite a few. There were 14, 15 new people came into the show, and yes, they do actually, funnily enough, they do come, and I do find myself being taken off and my advice asked, and I usually say, you just play it by ear first of all and see where you get on your own, because, you know, otherwise you're going to be doing it all for them. And I didn't get that sort of treatment, so I don't see why they should. Learn the hard way. But no, I will, if somebody desperately needs a bit of help, obviously. People do ask, what should I do? Because they don't want to go down and make a fool of themselves. I think that's the thing. An interesting time here was when the film of Phantom opened, which I personally love. I thought it was brilliantly done. I mean, the difference, of course, here, we do it every night. This is live theatre, and what we do on stage happens in your eyes. I know in the film there's a lot of cutting room floor stuff. But when the film came out, the audience's reaction here, reaction in the bums on seats, so to speak, increased enormously. And we were getting people in to see the show that probably had never been to a theatre before. And they thought, well, we've seen the film, we better go and see the show now. And when I take lots of groups around to see the show after they see a matinee and I give them the talk. We go up onto the stage and the question I always say is, have you seen the film? And they say, yeah, we saw the film first, we love the show better. All this sort of thing. So it has introduced a lot more people to live theatre than would have done before. I think possibly Cats would have done the same, Evita would have done the same. You know, these shows that are made into films will always have an effect, because it's a public will see them on film that won't normally come to the theatre until they've seen the film. The part that I understudy in Phantom is Monsieur Andre, and I would give my butt end to play it. It's a part, you know when you're playing something. I mean the parts I play, the auctioneer and Monsieur Ray, they're ideal. They're absolutely ideal for me. But Monsieur Andre, who's one of the incoming managers, and it's a nice part, you know, it's all the way through the show, I would give anything to play it. But I'm an understudy. That's green eyes for you. We did have the shock of our lives one night when we looked into the audience to see Princess Diana and her two sons sitting on the second row, right in the end, and she was in a leather jacket. And you think, and you can't, because there's so much spill of light from the stage over the pit. So the first two rows are quite well lit, and you do a double take. You think, Diana's in the audience, and she's sitting there with the two boys near to this room, just here, so that they could come in here to get out through. There's a quick exit that way, so they can get out to the street to the waiting car. But we've had all sorts of it. Cher here, we've had tennis players galore when Wimbledon's on. And I'm not really starstruck. We had Cliff Richard in one night because we had a group here called Christmas Entertainment that Chris Gidney used to run when we were in Evita. And we invited the cast to come and meet him in the Dress Circle bar afterwards. So Cliff was in, and he met the entire cast. It was my job. I came in here and met him. And I had met him once before, but I had to take him round and introduce him to all the members of cast. And you know what? I pride myself in the fact that I didn't forget anybody's name. One night we have a scene called Don Juan, which I play Pedro the Ruffian. A less likely part for me to play. And I have this like sombrero type hat on, and at the side of the hat there are three little baubles of it's like wool, but they're balls of wool at the side, and they hang down, and there's three of them. And I must have been standing a bit too close to the curtain that was going out that night, and there's an iron steel rope that runs through the base of the curtain to take it out or to lift it up, whichever the case may be. Well, these balls got hooked onto that piece of wire, and my hat, as the curtain was going, my hat took off my head and went way up there. Later on in the show, we have the climb down, when we're going down to the Phantom's lair, to the mob, we're going to look for him. I'm one of those people that climb down. Well, we have to climb up this ladder onto the travelator. When I'm up on the thing, there, right opposite me, right up in the flies, is my hat. And I couldn't reach to get it, but there it was, dangling. Well, the first thing I would say is it is a spectacle. I mean, that is the thing about it. Again, you know, Maria's designs, it's the look of the piece that gets you straight away. The music, I think, is probably, in my opinion, Andrew's finest score. The direction by Hal Prince, because Hal has got such a diverse experience of production, I mean direction, he's done operas, plays, musicals, he knows the content that he requires to put into a production like this. And then, of course, you've got Gillian Lynne, who, you know, is ballet trained, so her ballet in this would have been, well, is fantastic. And, of course, she helped direct some of the scenes as well. So, because you need to have the period experience as well, working with the period costumes, the period of the time, etc., etc. It's all very important. But I think to somebody that hadn't seen it, I would say it's the spectacle, the overall spectacle of it, because that's what got me. And I mean, you know, I go to the theatre all the time, I've been in so many productions, I know what to expect. But I didn't expect to see this was like, wow. No wonder that audience loved it on the first night, and no wonder they didn't change anything. They didn't have to.